I think we knew even on the day one of our sitting to start worrying about the policy, we had certain priority items on which we thought we should be spending a lot of time in the coming months and year. And quality, equity and quality was one area which we knew because the public interest and the kind of concern that in this country one expresses about this area is something will come heavily on what we propose as a policy and the type of question that it can raise. So we spent quite a lot of time, not only with the committee itself, but even with the broader consultation process we adopted for this. Now, against this background, I will just say a few things about the question that you raised. First is, of course, the observation that the entry into quality higher education can open a vast array of possibilities that can lift both individuals as well as communities out of cycles of disadvantage. For this reason, making quality higher education opportunities available to all individuals must be among the highest priority. We wrote this right in the earlier part of the introduction itself. Therefore, this policy envisions the ensuring equitable access to quality education to all students with special emphasis on socio-economically disadvantaged group, SEDGs, which you call it. The dynamics and also many of the reasons for explosion of SEDGs from the education system are common across school and higher education. We should recognize this. Therefore, the approach to equity and inclusion must be common across school and higher education. And furthermore, there must be continuity across the stages to ensure sustainable reform. Thus, the policy initiatives required to meet the goals of equity and inclusion in higher education must be read in conjunction with those for the higher school education. This is one point that I'd like to bring it to your attention. There are certain facets of exclusion that are particular to and substantially more intense in higher education. These must be addressed specifically and include lack of knowledge of higher education opportunities. This is a very interesting aspect, how much people are ignorant about certain things. Economic opportunity, cost of pursuing higher education, financial constraints, admission processes, geographical and language barriers, poor employability potential for many higher educational programs, and lack of appropriate student support mechanisms. For this purpose, additional actions that are specific to higher education shall be adopted by all government. And these are the kind of things that are being considered now. Some of them are already in the process of this. One is, of course, earmark suitable government funds for the education of SEDGs. As everybody knows that this has been something that has been always asked for increased funding. Set clear targets for higher gross enrollment ratio, GERs, for SEDGs socially. The third element is enhance the gender balance in admissions to HEIs. Fourth, enhance access to establishing more high-quality HEIs in aspirational districts and special education zones containing larger number of socially and economically disadvantaged groups. Then develop and support high-quality HEIs that teach local and Indian languages. Provide more financial assistance is another aspect of it, and scholarships and things like that. And conduct outreach programs on higher education opportunities and scholarship. This is, of course, as I said, the question of the level of knowledge they have about these kind of things is very much below than what they should know. And develop and support technology tools for better participation and learning outcomes. This is another, the technology will be a very special role in this kind of a BT and this thing. Then finally, all the HEAs can specifically look at mitigating the opportunity costs and fees for pursuing higher education. Provide more financial assistance. And I'm bringing some of these which are there straight in the document. I'm not telling this with respect to right now. So, but many of them are now being discussed with respect to how do we want to take it to the ground. Conduct outreach on higher education opportunities and scholarships. Admission process more inclusive, make curriculum more inclusive, increase employability. We are in fact trying to do this kind of a thing even in the presence of curricular framework work on which a lot of debate is going on. Develop more degree courses taught in Indian languages and bilingually. Ensure all buildings and facilities are wheelchair accessible. There was the question of disability and other kinds of things. Develop bridge courses for students that come from disadvantaged educational groups. Provide socio-emotional and economic support, mentoring of the student through suitable counseling and so on. Ensure sensitization of faculty, counselor, and students on gender identity issue and its inclusion in all aspects of higher education, including curricula. Strictly enforce all non-discrimination, anti-harassment rules, and those are everybody talks about it. Develop institutional development plans. I mentioned about it with respect to the university system, and so the policy. I give a list of this only to tell you that we have given adequate time and energy to identify areas, bring it under the policy, and these are not the kind of suggestions which cannot be done. These are all well within the ability to do for a government, and many of them are also being done by the government. I should also say that. But strengthening those systems, introducing the newer ideas that we have brought in, and having a strict monitoring of how this is moving into the final forward. And these are the kind of thing for which we have the institutional mechanism which has to function properly. So what all five, before I conclude this statement on the equity and inclusion, I would like to say that again, like the quality part of it, we have tried to include it in the school education part of it as a separate chapter. We have tried to include it as a separate chapter in the higher education part. And then also we have mentioned it in other places within the policy. This is just to say, because there have been questions of whether it is included. Somebody have read only one paragraph of that and said that that is all that is about. But it is an all-pervading discussion across the different pages of a policy book, which is fairly voluminous. And so that gives assurance that there is enough scope, there is enough amount of effort that is being now considered. And I am sure that the necessary resources will be allocated for there where there is more urgent need to further improve the system. But it is a very key element of this government's policy. They have adopted this policy, so it is a key element of the government's policy. That's what my understanding is.